Welcome to the BMI podcast. Today we sat down and talked about journaling and morning routines. We covered different types of journaling and different formats, as well as how to create a morning routine that's not just about creating another to-do list. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing. We hope you enjoy the episode.
Welcome to the BMI podcast, guys.
Welcome.
Today we're talking about journaling and morning routines and along those lines. So today I think I might probably just throw a few questions at you, Mikey. Maybe you have a couple for me, like towards what I'm doing and stuff like that. But I would say probably out of the two of us, we've probably got a bit more. You've got a bit more morning routine probably in place for a longer period of time.
Yep.
I definitely have a morning routine. I think mine's quite basic and stuff like that. But first, we should roughly start on like what a typical morning would look like for you, and just go from there.
Yeah. So my morning routine now has changed significantly, I guess, over time. And
Yep.
so like I always think it's providing context. And so whatever that kind of routine does, it should provide context for either the day and the goals that you've kind of got going on. But whatever you do, it should inherently be something that you can stick to.
Yeah.
Because if it's something you can't stick to, it can't become a routine. It just becomes a task.
Yeah.
And so if it's just a task that you're ticking off the list, some days you do it, some days you won't. The benefit from the actual having a good morning routine is essentially just taking the guesswork out of it. It's like a did you ever go through when you're playing table tennis before you serve? Did you go through like a routine there?
No, but like a lot.
See people do.
Like I would say maybe a slight routine, like maybe I'd bounce
Or before
the
a
ball
game.
or something like that. Like heaps of people had like the OCD, like it was just riddled with all of them. Like some guys had to change his socks before he had to go and play a game, and like they would be like, "Oh, your game's up now," and he's like, "Oh, well, I haven't. Give me 5 minutes because I got to go do my routine." And then he just buggers off to the toilet, wets his socks. It was like he'd go for like 20 pairs of socks in a day. I was like, it was so weird, bro. Like,
and quite literally, like a lot. That's where a lot of the benefit comes from. Half of it's psychological. Like it's getting you into the game almost. And that same concept really can be applied through to just your day in general. And so it's like, for me, the morning routine really sets me up for whatever that purpose of the day is.
Agreed.
And so I think like, you can see like some people have those bloody 5-hour damn routines. You're like, bro, that's just your day. Like your whole day's a fucking morning routine.
That's more than half work.
Yeah, exactly. It's like it should be
for
something
the average person.
hard out. Like I reckon anyway, something concise that you can go through that prepares you for the day rather than just having a checklist of task of things, like the whole bloody Huberman sunlight exposure, electrolyte, blah, blah, blah. And it kind of, and I mean like it almost can just keep going to a point where you've got literally like 5 hours worth of fucking tasks that you got to do. And it's like, it kind of defeats the purpose of the morning routine because your day's already gone.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's definitely become more concise. I'll run through kind of what I do anyway, and then we can kind of dive into each of them. But the first thing I do is make coffee. So I always get up and I make coffee. And for me, that making of coffee is actually super slow. I'll typically try and do it by hand. And so that would be either
is it a plunger or
pour over
a filter?
Yeah, filter coffee. Or I'll do like a mocha pot. So I've got a hand grinder. I'll put the coffee beans in the hand grinder. I'll literally grind the beans by hand, and then make either a mocha pot or a pour over, depending on basically just the sheer volume of coffee.
Yeah.
And so that process, again, that could take anywhere. That could probably take around 10 minutes. Normally make coffee. And at the point, I try always just stay off my phone.
Yep.
And so I'm just not on my phone. I'm just literally in the act of making coffee.
Yep.
From there, I typically go and meditate. So I go and meditate for about 20 minutes, anywhere between, let's say, 10 to 30 minutes, depending on the time frame.
Yep.
I find 10 is a good, like, it gets it done. But again, that 15, 20-minute mark, it's almost like running. It takes like 5 or 10 minutes to warm up.
Yeah.
And it's only after that 10 minutes you kind of get into the swing of things. Similar with meditation. Like I find the first 5 or 10 minutes, I'm still just in my own head thinking about shit. and I kind of have to break through that barrier to then get to, okay, now I'm a little bit more like calm and settled. And then from there, it's basically straight into journaling. And so we'll kind of get into journaling and the different forms of journaling, but then the journaling practice again is for me a way to kind of prepare for the day ahead. And so in the past, it used to include things like reading or exercise and whatnot. But I've kind of just tried to condense it. And at the moment, it's what are the things that almost set me up to have a better day, or what is the purpose of the day? And so I think a good question to always ask whenever you're setting the routine is, you know, what are you optimizing for? Like, what is this routine actually serving? And I think once you can kind of answer that question, well, then you can start to figure out the tasks, ideally that have underlying or that they're almost prerequisites to you having a better day. You know, for some people, if they exercise, they're more likely to eat well. So exercise first thing. If they drink water, they're not drinking sugary shit or alcohol. So drink a crap ton of water first thing when you get up, kind of thing. Right? If you're prone to negative emotion, it might be good to get your thoughts out on a page. So journaling might be good for you. And so depending on what you need to optimize for will dictate kind of what goes into that routine. But for me, coffee, meditate, journal currently.
Cool. How long have you been implementing that routine sort of thing? Like how long, like when did it start? Obviously it's evolved over the years. If you've been going for years, but how long?
This one currently is only really this year and probably end of last year. So I'd say let's go around November, give or take a month or so. This one in particular. And that was just because circumstances changed in terms of living and blah, blah, blah. That kind of
disrupt the rhythm,
disrupts the routine, disrupts the rhythm, and so things are just out of whack. And so it's finding, for me, that's why I had to kind of go back into, you know, what are the basics? What are you
trying to get out of this?
Exactly. What are the things that's really going to set me up to have the day that I need to have over everything else? Again, all that other shit, great task. If I've got the time, I can tick it off the list. But I'll keep those as a task and not a routine. The routine, the non-negotiable, what I do when I get up is literally coffee, meditate, and journal. And so really this routine's only kind of been in act since, for a couple of months now. And so that's actually what I've been struggling with. I've been struggling with it not feeling like a routine currently because it hasn't had long enough to really ingrain into this is what I now do. Whereas
it's not like 60 days tends to be like 60 consistent days or something like that. It's when you normally start to form new habits. It's not even necessarily you're definitely going to form a new habit. More like it's like that is the minimum.
And it's even the walk actually. So like even though walk's not necessarily a part of the morning routine now, whereas before it something like that was. In doing the walk, now the walk takes twice as long. And so like when I first started walking to work, I was like, holy shit, like fuck, I'm just tired by the time I'm getting there. I'm like, this just mentally took longer. And
it's actually a good point to talk on, like with a habit, right? Like you initially start it, that's to form it as a new habit, and then it actually becomes a habit. Then you can actually go and add to the arsenal, if you will. You know, like
that's exactly it. And because now the walk, it's starting to become, I don't want to say easy, it's starting to become familiar. Walking's easy by itself for that.
It's still like it's hard for some people though. Like if it's not a habit, like if it's not a habit,
it's not a habit, and so it was difficult because I was in my own head as to this is taking so long, and so because I would think this is taking so long, there was a whole array of negative emotion that was surrounding it, and so I was like, well, I'm not enjoying it as much as what I was previously. But now it's because it's becoming familiar, it's becoming more habitual. I'm actually able to begin to enjoy the process of doing it again. And so that's similar with the routine. You know, at the start of the year, it was very hard to kind of get stuck in. And I struggled quite a bit with it. But, you know, again, persevering through and just kind of like
I think a lot of people will though. Like you know, like
any new
you're
routine.
You're not perfect, right? You're never gonna be hit it like a home run sort of thing. It's developing that habit. Yeah.
And any new routine will set you up with the same or a very similar challenge.
Yeah.
Whereas before, you know, it literally used to be twice as long, and it would be I had the time and the ability to throw in, okay, well, I'll do all of that, plus I'd read, plus I would do some exercise and cold shower and everything like that as well. And everything was kind of additive.
Yeah.
Whereas now it's kind of been like, okay, you know, which are the things that really just set me up?
Yeah.
And so I think it comes back to, again, like having a good kind of intention of what am I actually optimizing for? And for me, it's optimizing for that clarity.
Yeah.
Japanese, what's the word for it? It's such a good fucking word too. Forgotten it.
Is that coming off of 75 hard though? Like, is that where
Yutori.
most of the well, sorry, what was it? The word?
Yutori.
Yutori.
Yutori, Yutori, or Yutori if you say it Japanese. Basically, it's like inner spaciousness. So it's like their concept is leave somewhere with enough time so that you can get to the place that you're going and be able to be calm and relaxed while being there, rather than kind of like you think about like being rushed all the time.
Yeah,
and like
I've got to get out that door in the next 2 minutes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we're constantly in that state.
I'm not.
No.
Because I operate like that.
Exactly.
I hate it when we're late. Like,
yeah,
you know, like, because I guess I'm not
you're
putting
wanting
that to place. Yeah, I'm wanting that. That's how that's my
Exactly.
operation of, that I prefer to function in.
Function in there.
Especially with the coffee cup. A lot of the time, like, especially with morning routine, we always ask, when are people turning up? We want to turn up before them because we like to get there early, get set up, and like have the coffee machine warm so we can hit the first customer as soon as they're ready. But the problem is they don't tell us the right information. Oh, no, it starts at 7:30. And like everyone was turning up from 6:30. And we're like, when you turn up and you're like, that's when you just like get overwhelmed and like, oh shit.
Yep. Which is what happened when we went to that judo one, right?
Yeah,
like, for whatever reason, like cascade of multiple things, power, everything else was kind of like happening. And it was like, okay, but now we're on a back foot and now we've got a line of people wanting something. And you're just like, you're constantly stressed the whole time.
Yeah.
But like
it took like 3 hours to get
up.
rid of the thing, and we still didn't even open up shop properly.
Exactly.
Like that's the things that like but that's why most of the time I try to actually predict the problem that's going to happen, sort of thing. And I mean, so for me, it's like, okay, so what am I optimizing for? It's that. Yep.
It's the day starts.
Limit any sort of problems that could go along the line, you know?
And just like be in the best headspace, be able to deal with those problems if and when they arise. And so the only way to do that is to have your own calm. Like if you're fucking a nut job right from the get-go, like literally, right, it'll be alarm goes off. Most people, alarm goes off, you snooze it for too long, jump in the shower, you can maybe have a 2-minute shower, jump out, quickly grab a coffee, if that, out the door. You're already 5 minutes late to work. You get to work, you've got a meeting, you go straight into that meeting. It's a fucking day of stress.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's no wonder that you're reactive to everything.
Yeah, a lot of people are just like,
there's no
they don't make it easy on themselves as well. Like that's what I tend to say to some of our friends, like, mate, you don't make it easy for yourself. Like, you know, what do you mean? It's like you're literally doing everything you possibly can to make it as difficult as possible for yourself. Like you're not helping yourself. Right?
No. And so, like I said, like for me, what am I optimizing for when I thought about that question? I'm optimizing for that. It's how can I set up the day so that, and so every task there, right? And so there was a deliberate slowness to every single one of those tasks. None of it was get it done quickly.
Yep.
It's not I'm going to make a quick coffee. Like I've literally got a coffee machine right next door to the manual one I'm doing. So I could put a pod in and just press a button, or I could just put it into the espresso machine and done in 10 seconds. But the key is slow down. Okay, it takes 10 minutes to do this, so you can just have some space.
Yeah.
Same with meditation. Like meditation is literally the training of that emotional reactivity. It's being able to identify the random thought that pops into your head so you can catch it and you'll be like, I'm thinking about random shit again.
Yeah.
And so it's every single one of those
That's
actions.
my life, bro.
Yeah, every one of those actions is just like catching that. And so once I kind of, again, identify, okay, that's what I need out of the morning right now, every other action can kind of trickle on from there. Or the habit that I put and the routine that I put can actually be stemmed from that goal.
Yeah. I definitely need to learn more about meditation. Like I definitely, I've never had a calm mind, I don't think. Like, I don't know how to explain my mindset to others. It's always pretty much like go, go, go. And even like, it's even worse when I try to go to sleep. Like I sleep well. I think I'm a good sleeper. Once I get to sleep,
You're out.
but but like it's I think it's a minimum like 30 minutes every night for me.
Yeah.
It gets way worse as well. Like when I'm doing property development as well. Like
Yep.
that's a lot. Like with the card, it's like, oh, like there's so much I can do or stress about. Like I'm able to sort of, just not worry about that and sort of thing. Yuda, on the other hand, she especially at the start of the business, she struggled with that there.
Oh yeah.
But
well, I mean, so that's actually where the combo I actually find of journaling and meditation good. So meditation itself is what you do, but I think of it as thought training. Like, and what you're training is looking at the thoughts that you've got. Most of the time, every single one of us is completely oblivious to the thoughts we're having in our own head.
Yeah.
It's like a mirage that we've got going on. We're like living in two worlds. We've got a world that's going on in our own head and then the actual world that's on and around us.
Yeah.
And it's like meditation is sitting there and it's literally just observing.
Yeah,
and you're just feeling and noticing random shit. But half of that random shit is your own voice. And it's normal, completely normal. Every single one of us does it. We have a conversation. The only difference between us and like insane people is that other people say it out loud and we just do it in our own heads. But we've all...
to be those guys that have no inner monologue, eh?
Yeah.
Like, God, I was like, what kind of life are you living? They'll be so present, right? They'll be like,
yeah.
Because what is it, like 30% of people or something? It's something like quite a low number. Like,
I wouldn't even think anyone. I think
apparently, like, there's certain people that, like, there's a small percentage, like, just don't have an inner monologue. And they go, what do you mean? Like, and you know how we say, I can hear someone singing that song or something like that. They're like, there's no voice, like...
Is it like a disease, like a disorder or something?
No, it's just, like, certain amount of people just, it's a brain, like, their brain doesn't have an inner monologue. And you try to explain it to them, like, it's probably worth looking up, like, seeing the actual stat. It's like a small amount of people, maybe 30% is like way above, but like I'm pretty sure it was like a little decent chunk, and I was like, what? There's people that, and I was like, oh God, wouldn't that be bliss? Like, wouldn't that be nice? Like, I bet you those are the guys that you're like, why the hell that kid's so fucking happy? You know, like why, like, you know, like there's so many people that you're like, God, that he don't got much to be happy about, but that dude's damn happy. Like maybe he doesn't have an inner monologue talking him down, or like.
Also, it'd be interesting whether or not they don't have it at all, or whether or not it's positive, because it can be both sides, right? You could have, and that's what I was talking about before in terms of like traits, personality traits.
Yeah.
And so, you know, people that have high trait neuroticism, that inner monologue is negative inherently most of the time.
Yeah.
As opposed to if you have low trait neuroticism, you still have the inner monologue, but it's positive. And so, you know, you think good things. I would...
Yeah, mine calls mine out when it starts to go too negative, and I was like, hey, swing it back, bruv. I've trained my mind to try to be, I would say I'll be sitting around 70% positive.
Yep. And so meditation is more actually training the catching of that probably in the hours or minutes or seconds prior to you even thinking that. Because by the time that you've noticed it, you've probably already had about 5 thoughts.
Yeah.
Meditation is kind of training at what point do you catch that thought. And so think of it like a space of time. It's like at any point during that period, or whenever you started thinking about that, to finally realizing that you're thinking about it, you could have thought about it.
Yeah.
And so it's catching it at any point along that kind of path. And the more trained that you become, the quicker you can catch it, but typically also the more you realize that it occurs.
I'm trying to do that with my anger.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember the emotions leading up towards my outburst.
Yep.
And I think about it and go, okay, well now, and it's weird. And you got to keep training it because like I got pretty good. Like, and I went like a couple of weeks. I wasn't even having a thing, and then like 2 days in a row, I had like
Bang, bang.
Yeah, and then I was just like, hey man, I thought we had this under control, but like it's not the thing. But
constant, and
Yeah.
that is
just
meditation.
retraining.
That literally is meditation.
Ah,
It's sitting in there to be able, and it's because once you can do it in one area, you can then start applying it in other areas. And so if you can do it with thought, well, then you can do it with anger, because it's the same sensation. All you're doing is catching things, and you're catching either the feeling that comes, and you might find you're getting angry because you've thought a bad thought, or you might catch the feeling of your heart rate go up, or you might catch the thought of like, or the feeling of like going red. You can catch multiple things. But meditation is just the simple act of catching, whereas obviously it would be more direct in terms of you're training to catch the anger in that scenario. But I guess meditation would just be the general application of it across the board. So yeah, for me, it's just like creating that space. And all the actions that I take in the morning help to create that space, which then typically puts me in a better position to be less reactive in whatever I'm doing throughout the day. So for me, I'm typically optimizing for that now.
Have you ever fallen off the routine? Like, and like, if so, like what was like the things that you started to put into place to get it back on track?
Just start again.
Start again?
Start again the next day. For me, like, there's, 100%. There's always times like something will happen. Like, let's just say you snooze the alarm and you didn't even mean to. Like, you're tired, you hit snooze, and you're like, shit, now I don't have the time. What I think James Clear's like reduce the scope, stick to the schedule is probably the best method to kind of use there, which is like, is there still something that you can do even if it's only 2 minutes? So instead of like, for me, I'm always that kind of perfectionist. I have to do a minimum of 10 minutes of meditation for it to even be worthwhile. Could I still do 2? And so, okay, cool. I don't have the time to do the coffee and meditate, but can I try to meditate while I make a coffee? Instead of doing a pour over, which might take 5 or 10 minutes, could I just do a mocha pot and try and be present and mindful while having that mocha pot? Where's that one bit of time that I can kind of allow myself? Same with journaling. Is it a matter of kind of going into it and just putting down a point or a focus for the day rather than doing a whole page? So instead of writing one full page, just write one line.
That's what I've actually leant towards, is like I was putting, I know on the Live Hard program, the visualization, they got minutes on it, but I was just focusing on, all right, just actually do that. And then like, if you happy to go longer sort of thing, but at least like, just start it, especially for the visualizing. Like I'll be visualizing and I'm like, it's weird to me because I don't know whether this is normal or not, but it's just the same shit for me. And I just repeat it in my head. Like, I'm going to be a billionaire. I'm going to be like, shit like that or something. Not exactly like that, but like, for example, but like, and I'll just be, like one of them is like, oh, I'm going to retire my mum. And then I just think about the moment of retiring my mum and how it would be, how it would feel and my mum's reaction and, that sort of, that's what I do for my visualizing sort of thing.
Yeah.
But
And actually, is that now a part of your routine?
No, so it was during the 75 Hard, the phases and stuff like that. It became that. So I've put it in recently, at least a few times this year. But then I keep just having like, I think I've been throwing things in and out of my critical task list too willy-nilly. I think I've just been going, oh, I actually need to get that done today, so I'll just throw that in there. Instead, like whereas reading up on it last night was just like, put that in there until that is your habit, a new form habit, and then you can cycle that out once you do that. If you don't do that for 3 or 4 more days, put it back in, sort of thing. Like choose like the 3 that you want of the critical task, and then you just keep doing those for at least like 7 to 10 days. When you, as he says, it's like basically when you don't think about doing it anymore and you're actually just naturally doing it, it's a part of your day. That's when you can cycle it out. So and I definitely noticed I stopped. It was because I stopped getting up early, like because I start quite early as well anyway, and I'm off and out on the road quite early. I was just there. I was getting up and sort of just being lazy. Like, let's be honest, like, and this, I haven't picked it back up fully after, and the times that I've done it has been in the afternoon, when before I was actually doing it in the morning.
Yeah,
Yeah.
win the morning, win the day. Like, that
Yeah.
is so critical. I think, like, and that's where I typically will catch up on myself. If I sleep in, the routine often falls. And so that's where I find, like, it's just reduce the scope, stick to the schedule. What's still the thing that you can do? First thing, just create that space for me. Because I know, like, it's the days that I don't have it that I'm reactive. Like,
Yeah.
I'll call out someone's bullshit and I shouldn't need to.
Yeah.
Like, I'll react to an emotion that's my own emotion. And it's like I'm always on reactive mode rather than actually kind of being in my own space. And I kind of need that time to be in my own space. But if you miss it, just start again. Like, there's nothing preventing, and that's where you're kind of getting to is, there's nothing, one, preventing you from starting again, but you want to do these things, and that's why I mentioned earlier, do these things to create the routine rather than just have a checklist.
Yeah.
Because if it's just a checklist, like, that's where the chopping and changing comes in, and there's no real benefit to having the routine. And so it's like, you can still have a checklist, but that checklist isn't your routine.
Yeah.
The routine is the habit that you don't have to think about, that you go through, though, that puts you in a better position to do something else. And so the routine should hopefully help to set you up so that you'll do the checklist.
Yeah.
But you'll need the routine in order to get the checklist. You don't need the routine, but the routine will put you in a better position to get the checklist done. Yeah.
How annoying is it that us males have to think about how we're being reactive and blah, 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 and then we're the ones who go and work on ourselves just to adjust for your fucking abruptness and your... and
I would say, after looking into it, it takes two to tango.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah.
So every single time
it
that
does
someone has a moment, it still takes you to respond in order to do it. So
no, I agree. I
100%
agree with that.
responsibility.
Yeah, but I do agree. It's what you're saying. You take 100% responsibility.
Yep.
That's how male of you.
Masculine.
Yeah. That is a masculine trait.
Healthy masculinity.
Yeah. Good on you for taking that, because we know
that's
the opposite.
the
Don't do it. Like, but that's what I'm saying. Like, it's a different life us men live, right? Like, we see that as an issue, and we go, fuck. Like, if I don't react, then it won't be like, it won't boil over or anything like that. You know what I mean? But then, literally, they're not thinking about that whatsoever, and they just constantly throwing out fucking heat the whole time, just like trying to, like, like instigating or something like that. Do you know what I mean? It's
So
like,
there's
why are we that way? Why do we have to burden that sort of load? It's okay, well, I don't react, and it won't turn into anything. It's just like, well, in my opinion, we got all this equality type shit. Why don't you take that as well? Why didn't you try to not be and embrace your femininity or something like that? Like.
Well, no. So this thing, I think it's more probably like the masculine versus feminine archetypal traits than men versus women.
Yeah.
Because I know some men that are completely horrendous at it, that have no control over their emotion.
Yeah.
And they'll go one of two ways, either into complete anger. It's just purely because, like, men are physically more dominant, and it's frowned upon for us to obviously go and beat someone up.
Yeah.
Whether that's to another man or to a woman, it's frowned upon, right? And so it's like, it takes us, like, we know that we can go there, and so because we know that we can go there, that societally or collectively is frowned upon.
Yeah.
If it wasn't frowned upon, we wouldn't have control over it. We'd go straight for it, and so we're forced to kind of have some control.
Yeah.
And so we know that.
Shall we swing it back, because we're doing our classic diverting?
We'll come back. But I will say, though, there are some females, though, that have integrated their masculine traits to be able to do exactly the same thing as what we would typically do in terms of being able to control your emotion.
Well, yeah.
And it's on both sides, because there are men that have zero control over their emotion.
Oh yeah.
And so it's like, it's at that point,
I would say more men have less control, and I think women tend to know men have less control, and that's where it becomes that, like, it's that I don't know. Well, we're not going to dive. We could dive down that quite a lot. I just think that they go, oh yeah, I know, I can just get a rise out of him. Do you know what I mean? Because we actually are, and we're not focusing on it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So actually,
I'm trying if I can swing it back, bro.
We can go. There's a
Bear with us, guys.
Yeah, we'll get back to the routine.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that it's something to do with kind of like psychology, how they...
Is it mate testing sort of thing? They're trying to actually see, because I've heard some of that sort of...
For love.
Yeah.
It's for love. And so it's more to... There's typically more emotional, or that females like emotion. And so because they respond to emotion, any emotion is better than no emotion. And so when we're trying to be stoic... I think it might be Teal Swan that says something about it.
Them, yeah.
And so because we're not doing anything, any emotion, it kind of makes the problem worse.
Yeah.
And so actually...
In their head.
Yeah, 100%. Even getting a negative emotion can still be positive in that regard. And so, but again, like by adopting 100% responsibility, it's still on me.
Yeah.
I still have to be the one to bite for it to escalate any further. And so at any point in any argument that goes on, regardless of between what sex, like whether it's between me and a female or me and another male, it always takes me to respond.
Yeah.
And by only having me to respond, and this is why I need the routine, right? Is to set myself up for whatever or whoever, because that allows me to have better emotional reactivity.
Yeah.
And if I've got better emotional reactivity, well, then I'm in control of more situations throughout the day.
Yeah. What first got you into journaling? What was it journaling, and then what sort of brought on the routine and stuff like that? Like, was that when we did 75 Hard, or did you have it in place quite a lot before then, or what?
I had it in a bit before then, but it wouldn't have been.
But it wasn't an actual
structured
journaling and like morning routine sort of thing.
It was still in the morning.
Yeah.
It was still in the morning. It was a routine, but it was more so the goal. What got me into journaling was actually better thinking, and so there was something that I listened to. It was a podcast that I listened to from. It was between Peterson and Jocko Willink.
Oh yeah.
And Jocko was saying kind of like that he had done an English masters. So he obviously Navy SEAL, commander in the Navy SEAL, blah blah blah.
Super successful.
Successful, and he went back while he was in the Marines or whatever corps that he was in. To do an English major. And so it's like, well, what the fuck are you doing an English major for? He's like, well, the better I am at writing, the better I am at communicating, the better I am at thinking through the ideas that I need to convey to people. And I was like, I always have these ideas, but
you couldn't articulate
articulate them in a way that was kind of like
very interesting,
meaningful to other people. And so again, like a lot of it came back to the journaling was actually just about clarifying my own thought. And so it was a lot of getting those thoughts out onto paper, writing them in long form to be able to actually clarify my own thinking. And so that's actually kind of what got me into journaling in the first place. Rather than the setup of a day.
Yeah.
It was more of a clarification. The setting up of the day came later while we were doing 75 Hard.
So is that when you brought in a proper morning routine, but you started journaling from that podcast?
Yeah. So it was more of a journaling
prior.
I was already journaling prior in the morning, but I wasn't setting to-do lists. The daily task kind of thing came in from doing 75 because it was a way to keep on top of everything and the habit tracking. But I was reflecting on my thoughts already prior. Yeah. It just the type change, and I mean, there's heaps of different methods of journaling which we can always get into.
Yeah, for sure. What have you found journaling has done for you, like for your mental health and your day-to-day life so far? Like, for
me, it was again. I think it's more just been about clarifying thoughts, and so it's created more opportunity to pass over thoughts that I've had. Whereas before, without journaling, I would have had a thought, not thought about that thought again, and then thought about it at some point randomly because I would have heard someone say something.
Yeah, yeah.
And so between having the initial thought, hearing someone else say something about it, I never really put much into what I thought in between.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Whereas journaling helps to provide another pass.
Yep.
And so you have the thought, you document the thought.
Yep.
You then go back and you look at that thought and you're like, oh, what do I actually think about that? Write a little bit more.
Yep.
And then you go back and you might read something or you listen to a podcast and like, that makes a bit more sense now. Write a bit more.
Yeah.
And so each time it's just another pass over that initial thought that would have previously been looked over or never thought about again. And journaling now is just kind of like provided more of a framework to be able to go over thoughts. And like I said, just think more clearly. So for me, it's around that clarity.
Yeah.
And I guess it's a way to purposefully create intent. And so like one of the practices you can do is kind of like write down what would be an intent for the day or goal for the day, that kind of thing. And then you can kind of revise that. And so it's an accountability tool. It's a manual accountability tool that helps you to kind of keep on track of your own shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Is there any more you want to add, like journaling and like morning routine? Like, do you do like what's the classic? Make your bed, open the blinds. Do you do all of that as like
I don't in my routine, but that's because I'm up hours before Corbs gets up.
Yeah.
And so she's normally still in bed by the time that I'm getting up. I'm normally up around 5. And so I'm kind of out the door as she's waking up.
Yeah.
So I actually don't make my bed.
Yeah.
I will in the weekend, but I don't make my bed on a weekday.
Yeah, yeah. Because that's what I found. Like for me, for you guys out there that you're wanting to sort of start maybe implementing some small little morning routines and stuff like that. Like it is nice. Like that's one thing I do. I just make the bed. Like nothing flash. Just make the bed. I have a cold shower every morning. Like I make sure I get these like few things, and that's sort of what I do. I open the blinds, let the sun into the room and stuff like that. Just those small little things that I implemented, and then that sort of allows me to start my day. And very rare that I miss those now. Like those are like, I would say that's my morning routine. Have that cold shower and then get dressed. And then what I will be doing now is I'll be getting up a little bit earlier and actually just coming in here and sitting over my 3 critical tasks for the day, sort of thinking how I can implement those, and then also doing the visualizing and stuff like that. So 10 minutes of visualizing. So
I'll come back to like all the different forms of journaling, because that might come into when you come into your critical task stuff, that might fit in there. But I guess like if I was to put the question, so like when I was thinking about it, I was like, what am I optimizing for the routine, which kind of gave me a little bit more clarity. What would you say you want to optimize for? Or are you currently optimizing for anything in particular? And or what would you like to optimize for? What would that morning routine serve, or what would you want it to serve you?
Are you asking me?
Yeah.
So just for me, it would be just I don't know, like just sort of preparing for the day, sort of I guess reflecting on things that I maybe want to improve on. I'm pretty, I don't know, like I'm quite self-driven, so I sort of sit there and I go, well, kind of like I'm like just ready to attack the day. I'm not one of the ones that sort of need a bit of coaxing out the door, like come on, like let's go get it. It's like I'm kind of like that naturally, sort of. So for me, it was just more having a clean space or something like that. That would be for me to open up my day ready. All right, sweet. All right, what now? Sort of thing. Like let's. That's why I sort of say I'll come and sit down here and I'll have a look into what I need to do for the day, and then I go, okay, cool. That's boom. That's sort of like imprinted in my mind, and then I sort of have it in the back of my mind throughout the day. Like, okay, sweet. I'm going about my normal day-to-day business, going to running the card and stuff like that. And then I'll be like, okay, well, sweet. So when I finish here, so it was just like today, we have the podcast on today. I finished work. I knew I had like 15 to 20 minutes to get back out the door and hit another bike and hit a bike ride, so I can get one of my outdoor 45-minute workouts done. Stuff like that. It's just sort of like planning my day, but like not with like meticulous like
do this.
Like here's your time slot for here. Here's your time slot. It's like okay, because I don't know. Like I think we both we fill our day quite a lot. So I don't even me and Judith were literally walking the dog at 8:30 at night, and then she goes, Like, I don't even get to watch TV programs anymore.
No, you don't have time.
And then I was just like, and we have pretty good flexible hours, if I be honest. Like, we start early, finish early. Like, we're usually home and having lunch by 12:30 sort of thing, like, because we fast till then. But like, and then we still have little bits and bobs we need to do, but it's like we fill ourselves up so much with other stuff. And but this is because this is the things you have to do if you want to achieve,
And you want to do, like, there's benefit to doing them. Right?
Yeah.
Like, I think the key is, like,
there's too much too much filler, right? Like, you're always just constantly just filling with like mundane, just
random shit.
boring shit, like same shit, repetitive, like type stuff. So that's why, like, Unit was just like, oh, you don't give me a chance to rest. I was like, what do you want to rest for?
Yeah.
Like I get it. Like, I'll be able to make the judgment if you're overworked, which you're not. Like I said, we finish early. Like, we get up early, so let's like relax around a little bit and just like relax a bit and just let the body have a bit of a chill moment, because otherwise we are pretty full on. Well, especially me. I said, you don't even do my schedule. Like, and then the way I think of it is like, I don't even do the likes of my mate Carl's schedule. Like, these guys out here, like, and then he doesn't even do his mates that are like paid athletes. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, there's always so much. There's more you can do. Doesn't mean you go and put yourself in the dirt for it, but like, just know that, like, if you keep adding to it, like, we are so capable of so much.
Well, and that's why I think enjoying it is actually so critical, because if you don't enjoy it, you'll get to the place where you don't want to do it.
Yeah.
And so you'll find an uphill battle somewhere.
Yeah.
Like, if you actually can, I think it's important to, like, cultivate the enjoyment. So enjoyment, it's not just hedonistically following along with the things that you want to do because it's giving you the most pleasure.
Yeah.
It's
taught to want to do,
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah.
It's not those things. It's still doing the things that you know you need to do, but cultivating the enjoyment in those. And so what are the mundane tasks, and what is the benefit to doing these mundane tasks? What's the benefit to me being able to go for a walk or that kind of thing? Because if you can find the enjoyment factor, you're more likely to want to turn up, and then it doesn't become another checklist task. It becomes a part of the day.
Yep.
And I think it's probably the most missed in fitness anyway, and probably in all circles of behavior change in general. But a lot of people try to fit a square peg into a round hole.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's only going to work for a certain amount of time.
Yeah.
At some point, the shit just doesn't fit.
Yeah.
And so you have to have the enjoyment factor there. And that's why I pipe on about it so much, because it's like, find the shit that you want to do more of it. But you're going to have to cultivate that and find the shit that you actually enjoy.
Sort of trick your brain into actually enjoying something that maybe you're not so into at the start,
100%.
but it will be like the running for me,
Yeah,
like,
that's exactly it.
Yeah.
And that's what we talked about last week or a couple of weeks ago. It was like, find that enjoyment.
Yeah.
Along the way, it'll be that shift from when you're just thinking about the outcome to when you start thinking about all the benefits that you get from it.
Yeah.
That's where you kind of got it as a routine and as something that you want to continue.
Yeah, for sure.
So outside of, is there anything else outside of the making beer, cold shower, sunlight? Like, would you say, could you do any one of those critical tasks within that hour?
Within that hour of getting up?
Yeah. So, like, or instead of doing one of those, could it be replaced by, like, would that give you a greater sense of a daily achievement? Like, that momentum going into the day? Like, if the momentum is, I kind of want to get on and do my shit, would it give you a bigger win or an early win if you got one of those done?
Well, I think the shower is the big one for me.
Right.
And do you remember this? Me telling you, I think we talked about it in a previous podcast. That was the reason why I didn't give the Live Hard program a shot for 2 years. So I did 75 hard 2 years in a row, and then I threw in the towel. I did 3 sets of 30 days of just normal 75 hard. I didn't do any of the additional tasks because I was fucking pussing out.
Yeah.
So like, it's still in that win basket for me,
Yeah.
I think I even told you about like sort of, I don't know if you were doing them, and I was just like, oh, even just like the 5 minutes is just like, it's a long time. And then
fucking hard.
yeah, because I don't know, you were saying you were doing it, but you were doing it for a minute, and like, so I was like,
3 minutes.
yeah, 3 minutes or something like that. But it's by 3 minutes, you're sort of you're
numb.
Yeah, you're fine. Like,
That's why I'll wait for the numb, and then once I'm numb, I'll turn the warm water on.
Yeah. I don't know, man. It's probably leading me down like the typical path. Oh yeah, starting a podcast, start running. I guess I'm getting an ice bath. Like do you know what I mean? To add to my morning routine, because like now it still sucks too. Like, cause especially the first, and it's been quite cold the last few nights.
And beginners pack.
The first
Self-improvement beginners pack.
Yeah, that's it. And like
running shoes, headphones, and a microphone, and an ice bath.
Yeah, I guess so. Fuck it, we're all gonna make it, you know.
That's it.
But yeah, it's just like getting that little win. It's still hard too. Like it's like if I were to give myself, you know, like an opportunity, or you know what I mean, like go, if you miss this, you're fine. Like you probably just not do it, and that's the whole point I do it. Like is because I go every time I'm like sitting up there, I go, God, other than today, so that I kept the cold showering going the whole time. I think I missed like 2 days because I was just so hungover. I don't think I even showered that next day. Maybe I can't remember, but I think I did it. But I was like, man, I'm too dusty. I don't want to have a cold shower.
Yeah,
I just wanted to have a warm shower at the end of the day of like sitting in bed all day, something like that. So like, I think 2 days, and that's like I would say since I done phase 1, I probably missed like a total of like 5 days of the cold shower, which is quite good because when I did phase 1, that's a long time ago. Can't even remember. That'll be like 6 months ago, you know. So that's a lot. It's
hard. Like it's a battle with your inner bitch every single time. Like I still catch myself looking at the water, and I'm just like, fuck my life.
Yeah. So like my thing is like I actually sort of a cheat coded it for myself. Like I literally just don't even. I go, all right, just don't think. Walk up and just open it on cold, and then because it's. Well, especially when it's a cold night, it's even colder than what it would come out of the actual pipe. So like what's been up in the roof it's got chilled the whole night, and then I was just like, boom, straight to the face, and I was like, yep, sweet, sit under that, sort of embrace that, and then like because I hate like it underneath like this under my arms and stuff like that. So I literally just be like, just like go throw it in all my areas that are used to being so warm, and I just like shock myself.
Just take it, yeah.
And then after that, it's just like, oh, well, you've done the hardest part, so now you can just start slowly rotating and just keeping, you know, like keeping the cold on you and keep feeling it. Yeah. And then I keep throwing my face under it again, like if I start getting a bit too like used to it too warm. Yeah.
Pause.
Oh yeah. Well, you can just leave it on, it doesn't matter anyway. Yeah. Hope you guys are enjoying this podcast that we're making today. Now I can finally adjust Mikey's mic that's been bothering me and me OCD the whole time, watching it on an angle.
From a little run.
Yeah, bro, I've been watching it.
Developing.
Been seeing it, yeah.
It's getting redder and redder as I go. Fucking white boy.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that, bro.
Fucking too white.
Well, I thought you'd be quite acclimatized to it now with all the running you've been doing and stuff. So
T-shirts.
Yeah.
Mostly like it's just I haven't actually been out in this like full out in the sun since. I think we went to the beach like once this year so far.
And you tend to run T-shirts.
Yeah.
I can sort of see it now that you put it. It's not too bad.
Yeah, nah, it's actually surprisingly it could have been a hell of a lot worse. But yeah, I normally go in like just a Nike T-shirt or something like that.
Yeah.
Purely because it's just like I'll get that.
Yep. Yeah, well, I went for a bike in this top, so
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's more breathable, it's easier,
Well,
and
that's-
just keeps everything a bit more comfortable.
yeah, I would probably like to get like one, like a breathable one, like to wear on the bike ride and stuff like that. But it was fine because it wasn't too bad.
Yeah.
Like I went straight away as soon as I got home from work, which is
Yeah.
like midday.
Just it's the shoulders that hit me.
Yeah,
Always the shoulders. Like the arms and stuff are normally fine, legs and stuff are fine, but it's the shoulders that always hit. And then if I'm out there for a decent period of time, they get fucked.
yeah. Well, that's why I wear the top because I don't like getting the singlet tan line.
Yeah.
Like the singlet tan line just comes through
Yeah,
like
same.
real bad.
Yeah, that was the same as me.
Cool. So you had a few things on journaling.
Yeah,
is that right?
yeah.
Yep.
So I was just going to ask, do you currently? I know we talked about you doing journaling.
Yeah.
Have you continued doing journaling, and what do you currently do for your journaling, like routine or habit or whatever?
Yep. So I've sort of stumbled across a thing a little reel that I saw on Instagram, and it sort of like kind of like spoke to me a little bit and like how it could maybe work for me, just because like I'm not too like I don't know how to what to call like spiritual or bloody like dive into my consciousness type person. I don't really.
I love that shit.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the audience can tell. Fucking intrinsic this and that. Fucking
I love it.
Jordan Peterson. But like, for me, it was just like I do want to journal. Like, and like you do. I do see a lot of the entrepreneurs like this is what I sort of tend to do is I look at entrepreneurs and go, all right, this is someone I idolize. All right, what do they think of this thing? Like, is this a habit maybe I should start getting into? And anyway, they were talking about like it was just 3 questions for the day. It was what have I done good today, and then what could I have done better today, and then what am I going to do better tomorrow?
Yeah.
So those 3 questions, and then I answer them. And I've been finding that one quite good for me. And then it's sort of it's enabled me to reflect on that day. All right, sweet. What did I do good? Which is good. It's always good to think about what you've done good, and you go okay. And then maybe that's one sort of micro thing of like gratitude, maybe something like that. I was like, oh yeah, like I appreciate that I've done this well. Like all right. It's like because there's too many people out there these days that are being real hard on themselves. Like, oh, I didn't do enough, or something like that. Like because if you allow your brain to do that, you will always tell yourself, oh, I could have done more.
Yeah, 100%.
There was that little moment that I remember when I sat down there and then there was an air brake and I just done nothing. Like, it's like, do you know what I mean? Like you can nitpick on yourself a little bit and you can be harsh on yourself. And I would say to you guys out there too, it's weird because I'm a bit of one that's kind of harsh on myself and I'm like, you should be like but it's also like, you got to realize like, shit, you're probably lapping the dudes on their couch, So don't be so hard on yourself. Be hard enough that you don't stop, but just, give yourself a bit of grace,
And that almost allows you to be able to see the wins that you've done through the day.
Yeah. So that's sort of what I like. That's why I sort of thought maybe that will work for me because if I sit there and go, I was like, for me, I have my thoughts in my moments, and then like I remember having like good thoughts and go, fuck that, that'll be good to write down in the journal.
Yep.
And it ain't fucking, it's so far gone by the time I get to the point of sitting down at the end of the day. I'm tired, I'm a bit drained and stuff like that, like,
that's exactly it. And that's what got me into it in the first place was that exact thing. It was like I'd have these thoughts, but I wouldn't then think about them again purely because until someone else brought it up because they would be gone by the time I remembered them.
Yeah.
And so it was more about putting them down in there. And so I'll go into like the different forms that we got, and you might actually be able to kind of like put a few in potentially.
Yeah.
But even for anyone listening, like there's so many different forms of it. And so again, like I always think it's important to start with the intention. Like what do you actually want to get out of the journal itself?
Yeah.
Because from there you can pick and choose the method that's actually going to work for you. I know we've talked about it before, but morning pages?
Nah, I don't.
No? So morning pages is that 1 to 3 page kind of thing. That one in particular is good to kind of, for me, writing,
I don't
right?
think I'm going to be doing that if I'm
No,
honest.
you won't. No. But again, like if you're someone who gets into writing, so for me, a big one was like writing blogs. I struggled writing blogs because I'd be over analytical.
Yeah.
I'd think about every single word or sentence before I even got what I needed to get out on the page. And so it took me far too long.
Yeah.
Morning page is a good one because it's literally just writing down 1 to 3 pages of just blabber.
Yeah.
Whatever comes to mind, writing it down. And it's getting you into the act of kind of like getting out of your own head and literally just writing. And so because you're just writing everything down, you can kind of just get into the flow. Then use a revision process again to kind of go back over that and start to then, okay, now I can kind of work through what I've actually tried to say in that blabber that's on the page.
My mind's very chill in the morning, eh? Like I'm just, nothing's really, it's not, the engine isn't going by that point, so I'm not really it's definitely like I always say I'm like a night owl, but now I actually go to bed pretty early and get up. Because I have to get up so early.
Yeah.
Like I would, if I was left to my own demise, I would probably be up till like 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock.
Yeah. But you might even find, so if you struggle with journaling in general, it might be purely because of that writer's block. And that writer's block is you're just thinking about what you're wanting to say, whereas you want to get out of that ability to think.
No, I haven't had too much problems with that there.
No?
Like when I sit for those 3 questions, I'm pretty quick with it. And then even before then, I was just doing like, all right, like what was a moment of like, I don't know, realization of today, like that was especially when I was going through like just trying to control my anger sort of thing. I'll be like, oh yep, I'll write down that moment. And then even, or like when I was going for a run or something like that, I'd be like, oh, this isn't as hard as what you were, think back to the thoughts that you were having prior to even just going for a run, and now look at you now and like how you can defeat your fears, like because that was a huge run, like running, like I just was like, oh, I hate running. I'm never gonna be a runner, sort of thing. And it was just because I was unable to see past the first 3 runs.
Yeah, of course.
Because it was just it was hard.
Yep.
But realistically, because of that mental resilience that I built through 75 hard, I was just like, well, look at all these guys that have done podcasts like the 75 hard with Andy Vasella, like people that have completed it, have gone on there. And these guys way bigger than I was and stuff like that. And they were like, they ran every day. And then I was just like, and I, like I said to you before, I at least have that part of my mind where I go, oh, if that guy can do it, I can do it. Do you know what I mean? Sort of like, and that's maybe like, I think with this podcast, I come from quite a relatability, maybe like being quite overweight, almost 130 kgs. Someone might be able to go, shit, oh, if they can do it, I can do it. Do you know what I mean? Whereas if you see someone that's been in shape their whole life, and they go, oh, this, you definitely know they're dedicated, but in the back of our minds, we go, well, actually, like it's easy for you. Do you know what I mean? Like that's how a person that's been fat and lazy and useless, we would think, because that would be our own excuse to not go and actually make a change in our life. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Right out. So I mean, like if you're someone that wants to get into writing or has problems with clarifying your thoughts, then morning pages, just look up morning pages on YouTube or whatever. I think Julia Cameron writes a book about it, but literally 1 to 3 pages, just blurt shit out on the page, get it out of your head, and it just gets you out of that over analytical thinking.
Bro, I get like sore hands writing. Do you get sore hands?
Yeah, when you're new.
Far out, bro. Like I was like, man, it's been a while. I was just like, fuck, I can't even write
gripping that pen too hard, bro.
I can't even write a half a page, bro.
Yeah, I had blisters.
I have to bloody flick the hands out. I was just like, this reminds me of high school.
Yeah. I had blisters when I first got.
What's funny is some kids nowadays have never known that feeling. No. They'll never know that feeling either.
Those indentations, those red indentations you get on your fingers, bitches of a thing.
Especially when I did a lot of lines, bro. Like. Like not fucking not rails,
detention lines.
Detention lines, bro. Like far out.
Yep.
Fuck, what was it? The 15-minute one, the 45-minute one, and the 1.5 on the Saturday. That was me, mate.
Oh, nasty.
1 hour Fridays, that was it.
Oh,
fucking Friday detention. I hated that one the most.
Yeah, I guess because at the end of the day,
it was a weekend too, man. Like all the boys were gonna go and fucking kick around a ball or something, like gonna do something, like
Saturday morning. But what you're doing is kind of like classified, I guess, in the 5-minute journal. So that's kind of like a 5-minute journal. It's more like a reflective, guided journal process where you kind of get asked a few questions, max 3 to 5, and you just kind of answer those questions, reflecting either on the day or setting you up for the day, that kind of thing. So I haven't personally done that I know that's most guided journal books. So if
Yeah,
you
yeah.
like buy a guided journal or look for like prompts, it's typically around that same structure.
Yeah.
Um, for me, I
It's
probably
got a couple of those that just ask questions. Oh,
yeah.
who's your favorite artist of the day, or like
Yeah.
today? Like,
Yeah.
is there a song that you're listening to? Shit like that, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah, and there's heaps of different ones.
But
They're
it's-
all kind of classed within that same like 5 minute journal
Yeah.
kind of bracket. But what I would typically do now more than anything is actually kind of rapid logging and just general pocket notes. And so pocket notes could go into literally a notebook form where you're just writing down things as they pop up. I find they're probably more specific if you've got the notebook, if you're going somewhere. So let's say you're going to like a presentation or something like that.
Yeah,
You can
yeah.
kind of just pull out the pocket notebook and kind of
Yeah.
jot down notes.
Yeah.
But for me, I just use the Notes app on my phone because I've always got my phone on me. And so I
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
need to have a journal in front of me. I can just, if I'm having a thought, I'll just pull out my phone and write that thought down. And so I just make a note on my phone. And then normally, again, it comes back to, okay, well, I'll review that thought. I'll kind of come back to my notes. I'll have a look at what I've been thinking about for the day. If there's anything in there that's kind of like relevant or that I need to go into further, I'll then transfer that into my physical journal and I'll journal more about it. And so then I can kind of go into it. And so all I'm doing is using my phone as a capture.
yeah.
And so if you look at my phone notes, there's like random 2 words or a sentence or something like that. And it's just like, they're just a little capture of thoughts that I've been
Yeah.
having at that time.
Yeah.
That will then go into the journal if it's relevant.
Yeah.
And then the other one is rapid logging, which is the bullet journal method.
Yeah.
So that's from Ryder Carroll, who created the bullet journal itself.
Mm.
That one's kind of more of like a to-do list task / similar to keeping your notes on your phone, but just doing it in a written form.
Yeah.
Where he kind of has, so there's like a key within the journal itself. Circle would represent like a task. And so if you're having a critical task, you put a circle beside it or put a dot beside it, and then you can cross those off as you go. So all your critical tasks could be there based on that. Notes are typically just signaled by a dash. So you put a dash, this is my thought, or this is a note that I've kind of had.
Yeah.
Events go in like an open circle.
Yeah.
And so then what you can do is you can basically just systematically work through the day.
Yeah.
And so if you start the day with your critical tasks or whatever your intention is, they could all be dotted down with dots. And then as you go through them, obviously crossing them off, whatnot, or reflect at the end of the day. And so that's what I do with my habit tracker. And so if I'm tracking the habits and things like that, I'll put the habits in and I'll set the intentions for the habit, go back at the end of the day, put the day up for a review. That's one of Ryan Holiday's kind of quotes.
Yeah.
And literally just go through the habit tracker and kind of
That's why I
cross
think
off the
those 3
things.
questions are putting the day out for review.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
And
know,
so
and
his book, the actual Daily Stoic, he's got like a journal.
Yeah.
He's got a Daily Stoic journal, so it'll have like a meditation at the top.
Yeah.
Just like a word, a phrase or a paragraph. And then it'll be similar kind of questions.
Yeah.
So, what would make today good, or what did you do well today, that kind of thing.
What can you do better tomorrow?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And so kind of like a systematic. But I always think like to do any of these things, like whether it's journaling, whether it's reading, whatever you want to put in your morning routine, I think it should have a purpose. Otherwise, it will just become another task. And then it'll be like, well, I'm only really doing it because I have to do it. Whereas if it at least has a purpose, you'll want to keep doing it. And so similar to like finding the enjoyment, finding the benefit in whatever that task is or whatever that method is, will then help to kind of like continue it as a habit.
Yeah.
So very similar to the cold shower now, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
the cold shower now is like, fuck, I
Yeah.
do the cold shower because it
Yeah.
fucking wakes me the fuck up and it
Yeah.
sets me up. There's my,
Well, that's like that. It is only for like it is a habit now,
yeah,
but it's something like it's not. Oh, I got to do it.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have to do it.
Yeah.
It was kind of like I don't want to do it, but I want to do it.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
like
yeah,
you know
yeah.
like
And so it's
Yeah.
potentially similar with journaling, or it could get taken off the list because it didn't serve.
yeah
For a long time, journaling just didn't serve me
Yeah.
because I didn't know what it was for. And so I'd try to go into it, but I was like, it never really stuck because I didn't really have a purpose for it. I didn't really know why I wanted to do it in the first place. Whereas now that there's a clear reason for actually doing it, and I can work it into something that's actually meaningful, that gives me benefit throughout the day, there's a little bit more purpose behind it.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, cool.
Yeah, I mean, I probably think more than anything else, it's just key to kind of like whether or not whatever that morning routine is or whatever that journaling is, just have that goal, have that intent, and just ask yourself, what am I actually optimizing for?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, awesome. Well, like for you guys out there, if you're wanting to sort of even just think about starting to implement a morning routine or something like that, there's so much information out there in regards to it. We're sort of just giving you our sort of like everyday Joe Blogs like approach and stuff like that, because like there's dudes that because it's all like words. When I see a lot of these guys now, I was like, oh yeah, 3:30 rise, 45-minute cardio workout, practice gratitude, and then talk to my plants, or something like, like a bumhole sunlight or some shit like that. Do you know what I mean? It's all just faddy, like it's all for fads and stuff like that. Like
there's no single routine that will serve everyone, but everyone would benefit from having a routine.
Yeah, 100%. That'll be a good way to leave it, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
Awesome. All
Thanks
right, guys.
for listening.
Cheers. Bye.